in our boards, in the skull trail board, in the bone trail boards, in our bad axe boards, 975X, in the BIOS, we put the capability to overclock that board. We've been making unlocked CPUs for several years now. We put so much protection into the BIOS and so many safeguards into the CPU that you have to be really, really trying hard to damage it. I mean, you've got to be like, I'm talking like with the soldering gun, rerouting stuff, stuff like, yes, dipping your motherboard in liquid nitrogen does void the warranty. Okay. So, but we've never disallowed a warranty return if someone told us that they overclocked their system. Okay, so first of all, first answer is it's very, very tough to blow up your board if you're overclocking, even if you're doing crazy overclocking, as long as you just follow some basic stuff. If you're going to do some really hardcore overclocking, get a liquid cooling system. But if you do happen to blow it up, call our tech support, say my processor, my board's dead, and we'll send you a new one. Okay, yeah, it's not that tough. If it comes back with lots of solder on it, and it's got obvious liquid nitrogen burns on it, then, then I'm sorry. Yeah, question over here. Yeah, so similar question on the Intune. So how is this different? It does both. It does the SM bus overclocking, so front side buses, but we have settings in our chipset and CPUs that this will access that the Intune doesn't have access to. You can completely run everything outside the specification with this. Yeah, there's also a setting in a chipset, and I forgot the name of that because I'm a marketing guy. I'm not an engineer, but there's a setting in a chipset where you can actually change the default voltage of the chipset. Every chipset ships from the factory at a certain frequency and a certain voltage, and you can actually with this program reprogram that factory default voltage. So it runs at a completely different track. From the factory, it's locked in, but this lets you unlock it and you can change that voltage reference that we put in the factory. You can do both. With this program, you can set different settings like 1, 2, 3. You can have a setting that's actually downclocks it, so it runs cool and quiet and everything. Then you can have one that's really high end, everything crazy overclocked. You can set it in you can also do all this stuff manually in the BIOS, but it just takes a lot longer. But this is just nice and friendly from the Windows. Is there a question behind the post? No. You want question over here? Yes, sir.
Does this work better than Intune? Because Intune blows up my system.
The third question on Intune. Okay. Yes, we do everything better than Intune. This is great.
No, it doesn't. Every time I use Intune, I try and tune something, and it just doesn't work.
So the question was, so your experience with Intune is that there's room for improvement, is what I'm hearing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't speak for that. I haven't tested it personally.
Oh, okay.
But let me point him out. Matt Alford is right here from Intel. So he's the product manager for this application. How many weekends have you worked getting this done? The last year and a half? He hasn't seen his kids in like 2 years. Okay. So the difference here is that we're actually this isn't a hack version of something. This isn't something we're just throwing out and letting people kind of try to use. We're actually validating this in our labs with our motherboards, with our chipsets and our processors. So it's being validated by Intel engineers. It's actually been in the works for about 2 years. There's been some beta releases. There's been some production candidate releases of different versions of this. But this is actually being validated, and we're making changes to the motherboard and to the silicon to ensure that this works rock solid stable for you.
Thank you.
Yep. Question back? So the question was, does it save to Windows or does it save to BIOS? You can do both. You can tell it to permanently save it to the BIOS, or you can just set it in Windows temporarily, and then when you reboot, you have your normal settings again. So it'll do both. So moving on. So here's a couple options here. You can tune your voltages within manufacturer limits, beyond manufacturer limits, to extreme limits. It's just that basic. The manufacturer's limits is what we were talking about before, which is that's the voltage and the heat signature that we set at the factory. And if you go beyond that voltage and the heat, it will go ahead and throttle itself back down so it's normal. Now, since you guys are all extreme people, you only want to click this last button to extreme limits, advanced users, and then you can go in and tell it to run at a certain percentage above the setting that we put it in at the factory. So a lot of different possibilities here. I do just want to say that overclocking is an art, not a science. That's why these guys over here with the liquid nitrogen, they spend a crap load of time on this. It's not something you can just do, learn overnight. Once in a while, I get some emails from customers saying, can you do a conference call to teach us how to overclock? And my answer is no. You just kind of have to learn on your own and play with it and find your own style. So you start the auto tuning, and then it tells you the progress. And here's some stuff that we've tested in our labs. Running SuperPi, the default settings out of on this processor, 17 seconds, and just running a short 14 minutes, we got a 20% improvement on the benchmark. So just something quick and simple like that is something anybody can do. So that's the goal. And again, it runs stress tests, it runs benchmarks, it runs stuff internally to make sure that everything in your system, the memory, the video card, processor, is still running solid, still running good and stable. Okay? All right. Done with that stuff. Okay. Oh, we're still running this and it hasn't crashed. Excellent. Okay. So this is a ray tracing thing, and ray tracing gives you graphics, gives you the shading, gives you lighting, all completely rendered real time in the CPU. So when you've got something like this that is threaded across multiple processors, the more threads, the more cores I can throw at it, the better it does. You guys have seen W Prime Cinebench. I'm going to close. We'll just let that run in the background. Okay, so Cinebench is just an example of how how you can render a program. You were sleeping. It went right at your face, and yet you didn't catch it. Did I hit your hands? Here. Oh, like you're thinking with your eyes closed. Okay. All right. Where's my? All right. So Cinebench is just an example of how a typical threaded program will divide up the cores, divide up the threads. So it just kind of divides up this image and threads it, and each thread processes a little section of it. So as soon as one little thread down here is done, then it's going to redistribute the load across everything else, and of course we got 100% utilization on that. So I'm going to kill this because I'm not actually supposed to be showing benchmarks, so I just won't let you see you finish that. Needless to say, Nehalem is coming out. It's the next big thing, and it's just going to put us farther and farther ahead of everything else. The integrated memory controller, the 3-channel DDR3, is just going to be really crazy. Hyper-threading really takes it to the next level, too. So, here's CPU-Z. Learn the difference.
Is Nehalem quad only?
Nehalem this year is going to be quad only, yes. Next year, there'll be different versions. But the Hind is launching first. Yes, sir. Yes, speak up.
About this demo, what you're using?
My CPU-Z is showing 2.93. I can tell you that the final frequencies of Bloomfield that's launching have not yet been determined. So this just happens to be running at that particular frequency. Okay, where's Mr. Matt? Is Matt around? What time is it? About 8:30? 8:20? Okay, can I have the ninjas up front assemble? And then can I also have my lovely lady volunteers assemble? Lady judges.
Oh, over here. I'll take a second one.
Where's we get Matt. We need to do some drawings. 'Cause I've got a ton of stuff to give away.